In the first two parts of When the Heart Smiles, we discover how Shrisha has been hiding some scars on her arms and body, which were deduced to be self-inflicted harms by her friends Ashutosh, Trihan and Richa. Unaware of her personal details and past, the trio gets out in their private investigation into the matter and come to know about Shrisha's best friend Kritika, who happens to be Trihan's mutual friend as well. But due to Ashutosh's busy schedule, only Trihan and Richa decide to go and meet Kritika in person to further their knowledge about Shrisha. And now, after reaching at their destination, they entered the parlor and saw a young lady with green hair washing her hands at a wash basin. Richa softly asked her, "Excuse me, ma'am, we had a special appointment with Miss Kritika Tiwari." The green-haired lady turned her head halfways and said, "So you are that other colleague along with Trihan? Sure, come on in." Trihan asked, "Could you call her now? It's a bit urgent of a matter." The green-haired lady wiped her hands in a nearby towel while her back facing both of them and said, "I am the Kritika whom you want to meet." Then she turned towards them and said, "Have a seat." Trihan frowned and said, "Didn't you have burgundy hairs the last time I saw you?" Kritika laughed while pulling a chair to sit down and said, "Yeah, that has a long history behind it. Maybe we'll discuss that some other time. Anyways, let us talk about Shri. What is up with her?" Trihan described the whole series of incidents until then in detail. Kritika's face started getting paler and paler as she heard Trihan describe everything. Kritika covered her mouth in shock and said, "What on earth is going on? She is in so much pain." Richa spoke in a light voice. "Kritika, for us to help her, we need some of her personal details, like her family, school life, and so on. We know that other than this incident, you know most of Shrisha's life. So please help us know more about her." Kritika wiped the tiny tear stuck in the corner of her eyes and said, "When Shri was very little, her parents got divorced. As per the court's judgment, she and her elder sister lived with her father. Though Mr. Haldar was a very hard-working man who provided for his daughters with everything he possibly could, he was unable to give them a mother's love. Despite of that, he refused to have a remarriage. So being the elder one, Shri's older sister, Suhasinidhi, became her mother figure. Her undisputed love and care for Shri was a lot more than their biological mother. She looked after her studies, cooked all the meals, managed her own studies, and basically brought her up to be a fine young lady. Even at school, she was a little ball of sunshine and loved by everyone. And I was her closest friend. After Suhashinidhi, she used to say that she loved me the most. Both of them kept growing up, with Suhashinidhi always giving the extra effort. If somebody has more information about Shri than me, it would be Suhashinidhi. Later, Suhashinidhi fell in love with a man of a very good family background. Although I don't know much about him, they had a baby boy named Satvik. When Satvik grew up, Shri came for work here. After that, I don't know much details about it, but I heard that Satvik was no more. Maybe it was some sort of disease. I have no clue, as Suhashinidhi did not want to speak much about it, which is very much understandable. I remember I called Shri on her phone to tell her the news, and the way she was shocked by it made me doubt that Suhashini Di might not have shared that information with her. Maybe she was concerned that it will cause Shri a lot of pain, as she loved Satvik a lot. But it is all just a theory I believe in, no solid fact. I did not speak to Suhashini Di ever since. I got busier with my work and she didn't call much either. Meanwhile, Shri was sad for quite a long time, which is totally rational and humane. But after that, she kept being her usual self. Now that I think about it, maybe I shouldn't have let her know about it, as her current condition might have something to do with this. Trihan hung his head down and asked,
"Do you have any contact info of Shrisha's elder sister?"
Kritika replied, "I do have her phone number, but recently she changed her number, which I do not have. I did plan on asking her phone number from Shri, but I keep forgetting every now and then. And unfortunately, she doesn't use any social media such as Facebook, Instagram, on which you could find her." Richa asked, "Can you tell us her address? Or her full name at the very least?" Kritika replied to her, "Her full name is Suhashini Majumdar, and I know where she lives. I can come along if you don't have any problems about it. I mean, it's about my Shri's well-being after all." Richa and Trihan looked at each other's face and smiled affirmatively. Trihan said,
"We would be more than happy to use another company, but before going forth towards Mrs. Majumdar's house, we need to collect another person from their restaurant. It's almost time, we should go."
Kritika smiled and said, "Sure, how far is..." The ringing landline telephone interrupted her sentence. "Please excuse me." Kritika got up to answer to the telephone. "Kriti the makeup magician speaking. How can I help you, madam?" "Oh, Neetu. Yeah, I was a bit busy, so I didn't check my personal phone." "What? Did you call an ambulance?" "It's okay, I'll be there ASAP." Kritika looked up with her eyes brimming with helplessness and said, "As much as I dearly wanted to help out in this little mission of helping Shri out, it seems I also happen to face an emergency. My mother suddenly started having respiratory problems and hence has been taken to the hospital. It's very important for me to be there as her eldest daughter for all the paperwork and bills." Richa put her tender hands on her shoulder and said, "That's fine, sis. I know that you're the most worried among all of Shrisha's friends. You can text the address to Trihan. We'll take care of the rest and let you know how things are going. Don't worry so much. Right now, you are more needed by your mother." Kritika smiled hesitatingly and said, while gently picking her car keys up, "I'll be right there once I'm done over there. I'll directly head over to Suhashini Di's house. I'll take my leave for now." Trihan and Richa nodded their heads in approval, and then Kritika headed towards her car while typing something on her phone. Trihan got up and said,
"We should take our leave too. It's about time we meet Ashutosh. I'm pretty sure we'll receive the address by the time we reach his restaurant."
Richa nodded her head and walked towards the door. Trihan followed her. After Richa nagging Trihan to buy his bathing commodities and him actually buying those to make her shut, they headed to their next destination. After reaching Ashutosh's restaurant, which was by then closed for customers, they explained to him all the necessary details he needed to catch up along with them. Trihan took his mobile phone out and said,
"Kritika sent me the very needed address over text. I think we should head over to Shrisha's elder sister's house now, as none of us seems to have very necessary work for today. The sooner we deal with all this, the better for her. So, nobody has any problem with tripling on my bike, right?"
Ashutosh and Richa squinted their eyes at Trihan.
I prefer public transport, namely auto, bus and such.
Ashutosh replied in a monotonous voice. Trihan sighed heavily and replied,
Well, our destination is 5 bus stoppages away. The next bus is in 10 minutes. Let's get going.
After parking his bike in a comparatively safe place near Ashutosh's restaurant, Trihan and others walked to the nearest bus stop. Getting up on the bus as soon as it arrived, the trio remained silent throughout the bus ride, with emptiness in their eyes, as their minds kept wandering off to Shrisha. Richa's eyes kept brimming with tears while she kept looking at the sun going down at an invisibly slow pace. She felt a tough hand gently rubbing her back, which further made her sob, but silently. She didn't need to turn her head to know that it was Ashutosh's kind heart behind those hands. She just knew it was him. Trihan looked at both of them from the back seat, thinking,
Maybe she just needed a gentle pat like that too.
He tightened his lips and turned his head towards the window, closing his eyes. After getting down from the bus to their destination, Richa wiped her tears and heaved a sigh. All of them then walked towards the provided address. After reaching the desired lane, Trihan went to a group of elderly people sitting at a porch and asked them,
Excuse me, uncles. Do you know anybody by the name Suhashini Majumdar living nearby?
The old men looked at each other and one of them replied,
Yes, she lives 2 to 3 houses away from here, on the left.
Another one of them said,
They don't get much visitors though. Do you happen to be their relatives?
Richa said, We have some business with them. Anyways, thanks for the information, uncles. Hope you have a lovely evening. The old men giggled at Richa's sweet mannerism. The group then walked towards the said house. As they reached the house, Trihan rang the doorbell, to which a woman answered. She was in her early 40s and with a very unhealthy and pale physique. She asked, Yes, how can I help you? All of them joined their hands and Ashutosh said,
Namaskar. You are Mrs. Suhashini Majumdar, right?
She inspected them head to toe and replied, Yes, I am. And who might you be? Richa replied, We are your sister, Miss Shrisha Haldar's friends. We had something we needed to discuss with you about her. Suhashini's eyes lit up for a good few seconds, and then her face turned paler than before. She replied with an emotionless voice, I'm sorry. I don't have any sister. I guess I'm not the person you are looking for. Ashutosh and Richa stood still with their jaws dropped. Suhashini was about to shut the door, but unwavered Trihan held the door firmly against her pull and said,
If you want to lie, then practice it some other time, as you are really very poor at it. Your sister is in trouble. Now decide for yourself if you want to help her or not.
Suhashini's eyes filled up with worry and she looked at Trihan's face with her lips shaking. She slowly hung her head down for some time and then hastily looked around and said, Quick, come in. Ashutosh and Richa looked at each other's face cluelessly and then proceeded to follow Trihan, who started walking inside the house with Suhashini before they could process the whole situation. She took all of them to her bedroom instead of the living room and locked the room from inside. After asking them to sit on her bed and them doing so, she immediately asked, What is going on? What happened to my little Sini? All of them eventually explained every single nook and cranny of the events that happened and that they have witnessed. Suhashini's eyes kept getting bigger as she heard the details about the condition in which Ashutosh saw Shisha in. She closed her eyes and said, "I'm pretty sure she did that to herself. Those wounds, those mumblings, when thought about all together, she surely harms herself every single day. You know, as a kid, when she used to get angry or sad about something, instead of shouting or throwing a fit or crying, she used to clench her fist so hard that her palm bled. It took a lot of scolding, beating, and what not to make her stop that horrible habit. But well, maybe the tendency to harm herself over something extrinsic has always remained dormant within her. And all it needed was just a single trigger to make it express outwardly again." Trihan remained silent and kept his gaze fixated on the floor, while Ashutosh and Richa's eyes brimmed with pity. Richa said, "We spoke about Shisha with her childhood friend Kritika, who is currently an owner of a successfully running beauty parlor. She told us a lot about both of your pasts, like how your parents divorced, you taking the role of a mother for Shisha, you getting married and having a son. I would like to add some more details to it, of which I'm pretty sure you all are unaware of." Suhashini interrupted. "When our parents were still together, I don't remember a single day when I did not hear them argue and fight with each other. The atmosphere of the house was never normal or even healthy. I would always take Sini out to play or anywhere away from the house. Our mother would barely do anything for the family, for us. She kept directing most of her anger towards Baba and me. My little sister would not have been an exception to her wrath if I did not try to send her away from our mother whenever she would throw a fit. She was such a cute little ball of happiness who kept me sane amongst all these chaos. After long periods of tolerating, Baba finally decided to get divorced to her. As per court's verdict and our will, we got to live under our Baba's supervision. I have heard from many kids whose parents got divorced that no matter how much of a bitter relationship their parents had with each other, both of them would keep meeting with them and keep contact from time to time. Our mother was surely an exception to that. Whatever it is, we didn't care about her either. Well, after that, Baba did not want to remarry anyone else, as to keep the stepmother issue at bay. People in our surrounding think that Baba did not really care much about us and only fulfilled his duty to provide. But I strongly disagree with that. He was a loving father who prioritized both of his daughters' well-being over anything else. And also, I did not take up the role of Sini's mother all of a sudden. If I think about it, I always felt the same way for her. We kept growing up together while I kept looking after her as well as my studies, meals, and everything needed for well-being smooth going. By the time I was an earning member of our little family, we lost Baba to an unfortunate car accident. Although I wasn't earning a lot, but it was more than enough for me and Sini to get by. I kept paying for her college fees and let her never worry much about money, although she did do several part-time jobs under my nose so that she does not make me worry about her. I really felt like a mother looking at her little kid growing up to be responsible with tears stuck in her proud eyes. Eventually, I fell in love with the man at my workplace. and we decided to get married. I did get my Sini's consent on the matter, and she was more than happy about it. Sini was by then applying for several competitive exams, kept trying her best to prove to me that she would be alright on her own and I need not worry about her. As silly as usual. I told her to stop acting like adults in front of me and took her in with me. My husband Anil had a nice apartment of his own where he used to live on his own before marriage. Now it was us three. Anil never seemed to be bothered by my decision of keeping Sini with me. In fact, they got along better than I expected. Anyways, after a year of our marriage, we had a baby boy. Sini named him Satvik. Anil and I both loved that name. Sini used to love Satvik so much that all our acquaintances would confuse her for being his mother. From looking after his studies to buying him his favorite things, Sini took care of everything concerning Satvik, even though she herself had her post-graduation studies. Everything seems so happy and well going back then. But one day, Sonu got into a nearly fatal road accident while playing outside one evening. By Sonu, I mean Satvik. Anil, I, and Sini ran for admitting him to a hospital with good facilities. We did admit him, but the unattainable sum of medical bill they charged on us blew our minds off. Sini did not waste a single second and ran to the big cities, specifically where she currently lives, and ran frantically from one company to another with her resume. Meanwhile, here at the hospital, the doctor stated that Satvik's condition was not showing any improvement. After a whole month of struggle between life and death, death won and took him away from us. Unimaginable as it was, we had to complete all the rituals of funeral with an immeasurable hole in our hearts. On the last day of the funeral rites, we received a letter with some money from Shisha. The letter said, "Here's the money I have earned so far. Please use it. I'll send more when I earn some more." My mind kept filling up with questions like, what is she eating then if she sent all her money to me? Where is she even living? She must have rents to pay for that place too. What job is she doing? How is she? While my mind was preoccupied with all these questions, raging Anil snatched the money and letter from my hand, tore both of them, and threw them away. He shouted out, "Where was she when my poor boy was crying constantly to see her? Where was the stupid sister of yours when we were bawling our eyes out at his funeral? Is she pitying us now? Can her money bring back our son?" I was in such intense agony that I forgot about my sister before receiving her letter. I most probably didn't even let her know about his demise. I was clearly at fault, but at that particular moment, as I was blinded by the pain of bereavement, that I agreed with whatever my husband said about her. We moved out of Anil's apartment as I couldn't stand the dead silence caused due to the absence of my son's little giggles and sounds of small running feet. We also changed our contact details, so Sini can never find us again. The baseless anger started rooting up in my heart without me ever questioning it with logic. I just mindlessly kept doing the bare minimum to stay alive. Much later did I realize the heights of my idiocy. I kept trying to reach out to her anyhow, but Anil would lash out at me the moment I uttered Shisha's name. Even after telling him the truth about Sini's ignorance on the matter, he would still whip his anger, saying,
"So what if you didn't let her know? It is a very natural reaction for a mother in grief. She was his Masi. Wasn't it her responsibility to keep checking on his condition? Did she call you for once after she left?"
I could not say yes to this question, as she really did not contact us for once after leaving. I know my Sini though. She never has been good at multitasking. She puts all her energy into achieving one thing and doesn't back down until it is achieved. That might have been a reason why she forgot to contact us and take update from time to time. But whenever I tried to explain this reasoning to Anil, he would just scold me for using sorry excuses to defend her. As a result, I had to live with my love for Sini sunken in the depths of my heart. By the time Suhashini finished telling her part of the story, Richa's cheeks and eyes were red and drenched in tears. Ashutosh looked at Suhashini's eyes and asked,
"Why are you so scared of reaching out to Shrisha now?"
Suhashini's lips started trembling and eyes went blank. If I try to contact Shrisha, Anil might say something so harsh to her that she will be absolutely broken. That is the last thing that I want. Suhashini replied after some silence. Trihan asked her in a stoic and firm manner.
"She is suffering anyways. After she got to know about Satvik from Kritika, she has potentially developed more than one mental disorders. The fear which was stopping you from contacting her has already happened. Now what? Are you still going to turn a blind eye to her condition because your husband might hurt her?"
Suhashini avoided the question and said, "You all should leave now. Anil won't treat you nicely if he gets to know that you are Srisha's friends." Then Suhashini got up and unlocked the door. None of them moved from their place. Richa said in a very serious tone, "We'll wait in the living room. We won't leave till you accept to meet Srisha. We'll try and persuade your husband if that is what it takes." Trihan and Ashutosh smiled affirmatively. As all of them were on their way to the living room, they saw Anil standing in the corridor.